Most people think precious opal is nature's ultimate rainbow stone. But hidden across ancient fossil beds, volcanic landscapes, and remote mineral deposits are specimens so extraordinary that many collectors consider them even more surprising than opal itself. In this video, you'll discover rainbow minerals born from ancient oceans, volcanic eruptions, and geological processes so unusual they seem almost impossible. Some hide their colors until light strikes them. Others challenge what we think minerals should be capable of. And by the time we reach the final specimen, you may find yourself questioning whether nature has limits at all. Let's begin with a mineral that looks completely ordinary until it reveals an entire rainbow hidden beneath the surface. Number 15. Labradorite. At first glance, Labradorite does not look like a mineral that belongs on a list of Earth's most spectacular rainbow treasures. In fact, many people walk past it without a second thought. Its surface often appears gray, dull, or even lifeless. There are no obvious flashes of color, no brilliant sparkle, no immediate sign that anything extraordinary is hidden within. And that is precisely what makes Labradorite so fascinating. Among all the rainbow minerals in the world, few demonstrate a more powerful lesson about perception. Human beings are naturally drawn to things that look valuable from the outside. Bright colors, strong reflections, and obvious beauty tend to capture attention instantly. Labradorite does the opposite. It keeps its secret hidden. Then something remarkable happens. As the stone shifts under a beam of light, electric flashes of blue suddenly appear. A moment later, streaks of gold emerge. Turn it again, and green, violet, and even fiery orange seem to move beneath the surface like living light. For centuries, this effect has fascinated collectors, geologists, and gem enthusiasts alike. The phenomenon is known as labradorescence, an optical effect caused by microscopic structures deep inside the mineral. Instead of reflecting a single color, these structures scatter light into vivid flashes that seem to hover beneath the stone itself. The result can be startling. Many first-time observers assume they are looking at a treated gemstone or a synthetic material. Yet every flash is completely natural. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of labradorite is what it reveals about the natural world. Some of Earth's greatest visual wonders are not immediately obvious. They wait for the right angle, the right light, and the right moment to reveal themselves. In many ways, labradorite is the perfect beginning for this journey. Because if a plain gray stone can hide an entire rainbow within it, then perhaps nature has been concealing far more surprises than most people realize. And the next mineral on this list takes that idea even further. Unlike labradorite, its rainbow colors were not created inside a crystal at all. They were born from the remains of an ancient sea creature that lived millions of years ago, and the transformation that followed would create one of the most extraordinary rainbow treasures ever discovered. Number 14. Ammolite. When time turns death into color. Most rainbow minerals begin their story deep within the earth. Ammolite is different. Its story began in an ancient ocean long before humans existed, long before modern continents took their present shape, and long before anyone could imagine that the remains of a sea creature would one day rival precious opal in beauty. What makes ammolite so remarkable is not simply its color. It is what those colors represent. More than 70 million years ago, enormous marine animals known as ammonites drifted through the waters of the late Cretaceous period. These spiral-shelled creatures thrived in ancient seas until a mass extinction event brought their reign to an end. For most living things, death marks the end of the story. For ammolite, it was only the beginning. Over millions of years, layers of sediment buried the shells beneath the earth. Pressure increased. Minerals slowly replaced organic material, and under an extraordinarily rare combination of geological conditions, something unexpected occurred. The shell's microscopic structure survived. Even more astonishing, it evolved into a natural surface capable of interacting with light in spectacular ways. The result is ammolite's famous display of color. Flashes of red, green, blue, gold, and violet ripple across the surface like liquid fire trapped in stone. In some specimens, the colors seem almost too vivid to be natural, resembling stained glass illuminated from within. Yet every color is the product of time. No human artist painted it. No jeweler created it. No laboratory designed it. Nature accomplished the transformation over tens of millions of years. This is what makes Ammolite far more than a beautiful mineral. It is a reminder that time is not merely a force of destruction. Under the right circumstances, time can also become a creator. The very remains of a long-extinct creature were transformed into one of Earth's most extraordinary rainbow treasures. And that idea is surprisingly powerful, because throughout nature, some of the greatest wonders emerge not despite immense spans of time, but because of them. Yet the next mineral challenges an entirely different assumption. Unlike Ammolite, whose colors were forged through millions of years of geological transformation, the rainbow appearance of the next specimen looks so artificial that many people refuse to believe it formed naturally at all. At first glance, it appears less like a mineral and more like metal that has been painted by human hands. Number 13. Bornite. There is a point at which beauty becomes suspicious. Most people instinctively trust what looks natural. Earth tones, subtle textures, and familiar colors feel believable because they match expectations. But when a mineral appears covered in electric blues, deep purples, fiery reds, and flashes of green all at once, the reaction is often very different. The first assumption is usually the same. It must have been painted. It must have been treated. It cannot possibly be natural. That reaction is exactly what makes Bornite so fascinating. Often nicknamed peacock ore, Bornite is one of the most visually striking minerals ever discovered. Its surface can display an astonishing spectrum of colors that seem more appropriate for an artist's palette than a geological specimen. Placed in a display case beside many gemstones, Bornite frequently attracts immediate attention, not because it is the rarest mineral in the room, but because it appears almost artificial. And yet, that appearance is part of a much larger story. Human beings have spent centuries improving color. Pigments, dyes, paints, and coatings were all developed to create visual effects that nature supposedly lacked. Bornite challenges that assumption. Its rainbow-like appearance emerges through natural chemical processes that alter the mineral's surface. As light interacts with those microscopic layers, brilliant colors begin to appear, creating an effect that can seem almost impossible at first glance. The result is a powerful reminder that nature often reaches places human imagination arrives at much later. In fact, many collectors describe their first encounter with a high-quality Bornite specimen the same way: disbelief. Not because the mineral lacks beauty, but because it possesses too much of it. This creates one of the most intriguing patterns found throughout the world of rainbow minerals. Again and again, nature produces colors that seem designed rather than formed. And that raises an interesting question. What if some of the most extraordinary colors on Earth are not actually colors at all? The next mineral takes that mystery even further, because unlike Bornite, whose rainbow appearance forms on the surface, the next specimen creates color through microscopic internal structures so precise that they manipulate light itself. The result is a hidden rainbow that only appears when viewed from exactly the right angle. And understanding how it works reveals one of nature's most elegant optical illusions. Number 12. Iris agate. At first glance, iris agate appears surprisingly ordinary. There are no dramatic crystal faces, no metallic flashes, no vivid colors immediately visible on its surface. In fact, many specimens look almost disappointingly simple compared to some of the rainbow minerals already seen on this list. Yet under the right conditions, iris agate reveals something extraordinary. A brilliant spectrum of color suddenly emerges, spreading across the stone like a miniature rainbow suspended inside solid rock. The effect is so unexpected that many first-time observers assume they are looking at a trick of light. In a sense, they are. But the true story is far more fascinating. One of the most powerful ideas in both geology and nature is that complexity often hides beneath simplicity. The most beautiful patterns are not always visible on the surface. Sometimes they exist at scales far too small for the human eye to detect. Iris agate is a perfect example. Its rainbow display is not created by pigments. It is not caused by dyes, minerals, or colorful inclusions trapped inside the stone. Instead, the effect originates from countless microscopic layers formed during the agate's growth over millions of years. These layers are so thin and so precisely arranged that they interact with light itself. As light passes through the stone, different wavelengths separate and scatter, producing a spectrum remarkably similar to a rainbow after a storm. What makes this phenomenon particularly captivating is the realization that the colors are not truly stored inside the mineral. They are created in the moment. The rainbow appears only when light, structure, and viewing angle align perfectly. Without that alignment, much of the magic remains invisible. This idea extends far beyond a single mineral specimen. Again and again, nature demonstrates that beauty is often the result of hidden organization rather than randomness. Beneath what appears to be chaos lies structure. Beneath simplicity lies complexity. Iris agate offers a rare glimpse into that hidden architecture. And perhaps that is why it feels so mesmerizing. Not because it displays a rainbow, but because it reveals how a rainbow can emerge from something almost invisible. Yet the next mineral takes this concept to an entirely different level. Because while iris agate hides its colors within microscopic layers, the next specimen is famous for producing some of the most intense flashes of color ever seen in a feldspar mineral, so vivid that many collectors consider it the ultimate evolution of the phenomenon first glimpsed in Labradorite. And unlike ordinary Labradorite, this version exists in only a few places on Earth. Number 11. Spectrolite. Many minerals can be found across continents. A few appear in dozens of countries. Some even occur in nearly every corner of the world. But every so often, nature creates something that seems tied to a particular place so completely that separating the two becomes almost impossible. Spectrolite is one of those rare examples. At first glance, it resembles Labradorite, the mineral that opened this journey. Both belong to the same feldspar family. Both are capable of producing remarkable flashes of color. And both can appear surprisingly ordinary until light reveals what lies beneath the surface. Yet collectors quickly notice a difference. The colors in spectrolite often seem deeper, broader, and more intense. Brilliant blues collide with emerald greens. Gold transitions into fiery orange. Violet flashes emerge unexpectedly from dark backgrounds. In exceptional specimens, nearly the entire visible spectrum appears at once. The effect can be breathtaking. But what makes spectrolite truly fascinating is not simply how it looks. It is where it comes from. Most gem enthusiasts associate spectrolite with Finland, where deposits displaying these extraordinary optical effects were first recognized and carefully studied. Over time, the mineral became more than a geological discovery. It became part of the country's natural identity. And this reveals a powerful truth about the natural world. Beauty is not created by ingredients alone. Location matters, pressure matters, temperature matters, geological history matters. A slight difference in conditions can mean the difference between an ordinary mineral and one capable of producing colors that seem almost impossible. This concept appears repeatedly throughout Earth's most extraordinary treasures. Certain wonders exist not because nature intended them to be rare, but because the precise conditions required for their creation occurred only in a handful of places. Spectrolite serves as a reminder that geography is not merely a backdrop to natural history. In many cases, geography is the story. Without the right environment, some of Earth's most spectacular phenomena would never exist at all. And that idea becomes even more dramatic with the next mineral. Because unlike spectrolite, whose colors emerge through immense geological precision, the next specimen owes its beauty to something far more violent. Its story begins with molten rock, volcanic fury, and one of the most destructive forces found anywhere on Earth. Yet somehow, from that chaos emerged a rainbow. Number 10. Fire obsidian. When most people imagine a rainbow mineral, they picture something delicate, a crystal slowly growing in silence, a gemstone forming over millions of years in stable geological conditions. Fire obsidian tells a very different story. Its origins begin not in calmness, but in violence, not in stability, but in chaos. Few forces on Earth are more destructive than a volcanic eruption. Entire landscapes can disappear beneath rivers of molten rock. Forests are consumed, mountains are reshaped, temperatures rise to levels capable of melting solid stone. At first glance, such conditions seem completely incompatible with beauty. Yet nature often works through contradiction, and fire obsidian may be one of the best examples. Like ordinary obsidian, this material begins as volcanic glass, formed when lava cools so rapidly that crystals never have time to develop. What remains is a dark, glassy substance that appears almost featureless from the outside. But hidden beneath that black surface lies an unexpected secret. Under the right light, brilliant flashes of gold, green, blue, purple, and fiery red begin to emerge. The colors seem to float beneath the surface like flames trapped inside polished stone. The effect is so dramatic that many collectors compare it to looking into a fire frozen in time. What creates this phenomenon is not pigment or dye. Instead, microscopic layers formed during the cooling process interact with light, producing iridescent flashes remarkably similar to those seen in precious opal. And this is where fire obsidian becomes more than just another rainbow mineral. It represents a recurring pattern found throughout nature. Again and again, some of Earth's most extraordinary creations emerge from moments of destruction. Volcanoes erase landscapes, yet they also create new land. Wildfires destroy forests, yet they prepare the ground for new growth. And in the case of fire obsidian, molten rock became the foundation for one of the most mesmerizing optical effects found in the mineral kingdom. The lesson is difficult to ignore. Catastrophe and creation are often far more closely connected than they appear. But the next mineral pushes that idea in an entirely different direction. Because unlike fire obsidian, which was born from volcanic violence, the next specimen creates astonishment for a much simpler reason. It forces people to question what they think they know. After all, very few people expect a mineral rich in iron, one of the most common and familiar elements on Earth, to produce a rainbow at all. Yet that is exactly what happens. Number 9, rainbow hematite. Some of the greatest surprises in nature do not come from rare discoveries. They come from familiar things behaving in unfamiliar ways. That is precisely what makes rainbow hematite so captivating. Unlike many minerals on this list, hematite is not an obscure geological curiosity. It is one of the most recognizable iron-rich minerals on Earth. In its most common form, it is known for metallic gray surfaces, dark streaks, and a practical role in the story of human civilization. There is nothing about ordinary hematite that suggests rainbows, nothing that hints at vibrant color, nothing that prepares the observer for what comes next. And yet, under the right conditions, rainbow hematite appears almost impossible. Its surface can display brilliant bands of blue, green, gold, violet, and crimson. Colors shift across the mineral like oil on water, creating an appearance more commonly associated with exotic gemstones than with an iron-bearing mineral. The effect often leaves first-time viewers genuinely confused. After all, iron is familiar. Iron belongs in bridges, tools, machinery, and the framework of modern life. A rainbow does not. That contradiction is exactly where the fascination begins. Human beings naturally create mental shortcuts about the world. Certain objects become associated with specific expectations. Gold should look golden, coal should look black, iron should look gray. These assumptions help people navigate everyday life. But every so often, nature breaks its own rules. Rainbow hematite serves as a reminder that even the most familiar materials can still hold secrets. In many ways, this mineral reflects a larger truth about discovery itself. The greatest mysteries are not always hidden in distant jungles or unexplored mountains. Sometimes they exist within things people believe they already understand. That realization changes the way the natural world is viewed. Suddenly, every ordinary object becomes a potential source of surprise. And perhaps that is why rainbow hematite feels so memorable. It transforms certainty into curiosity. Yet the next mineral introduces an entirely different question. Because while rainbow hematite challenges expectations about what a mineral should look like, the next specimen challenges expectations about what should even be considered natural. Its dazzling rainbow colors have sparked debate among collectors for years. Some see it as a breathtaking mineral specimen. Others see it as evidence of human intervention, and the line between those two ideas is not always easy to see. Number 8. Titanium quartz. Few questions in the gemstone world create more debate than a simple one. What makes something truly valuable? At first, the answer seems obvious. Rarity matters, beauty matters, history matters. But sooner or later, another factor enters the conversation: authenticity. And few rainbow minerals illustrate that tension better than titanium quartz. At a glance, the material looks almost unbelievable. Brilliant flashes of electric blue, violet, gold, green, and magenta appear across its surface. The colors can be so intense that many people assume they are looking at a computer-generated image rather than a real specimen. The visual impact is undeniable. In fact, some pieces display more vivid rainbow effects than many natural minerals on this list. Yet titanium quartz occupies an unusual position in the collecting world. The quartz itself is natural. The rainbow coating is not. Through a specialized process, quartz crystals are exposed to vaporized titanium, creating an ultra-thin metallic layer that bonds to the surface. The result is breathtaking. The crystal becomes covered in shimmering colors that seem to belong in a science fiction film rather than a geological collection. And that is where the debate begins. Some collectors admire titanium quartz for its beauty alone. To them, the finished piece represents a collaboration between nature and human ingenuity. Others disagree. They argue that once human intervention becomes part of the process, the specimen no longer belongs in the same category as naturally occurring rainbow minerals. Neither side is entirely wrong, which makes the discussion so fascinating. Because the disagreement is not really about quartz, it is about how people assign value. Throughout history, authenticity has influenced the way art is collected, antiques are priced, and gemstones are admired. A painting created by a master is valued differently than a perfect reproduction. A natural pearl is viewed differently than a cultured one. The object may appear similar. The story behind it changes everything. Titanium quartz forces collectors to confront that idea directly. Does beauty become less impressive when human hands contribute to its creation? Or does the combination of nature and technology create a different kind of wonder altogether? There may never be a universal answer. But the next mineral introduces a completely different twist. Because unlike titanium quartz, whose appearance is openly shaped by human intervention, the next specimen often creates confusion for another reason entirely. Its natural rainbow colors are so convincing that many people mistake it for something it is not. And that misunderstanding has followed it for generations. Number 7. Chalcopyrite. One of the most persistent lessons in the world of minerals is surprisingly simple. Appearances can be deceptive. Again and again, collectors, prospectors, and even experienced observers have discovered that what seems obvious at first glance often turns out to be something entirely different. Few minerals demonstrate this more effectively than chalcopyrite. At first sight, chalcopyrite can appear remarkably valuable. Its metallic luster and golden coloration often lead newcomers to mistake it for gold. In other cases, rainbow-colored surfaces cause it to be confused with entirely different minerals, especially when oxidation produces brilliant flashes of blue, purple, green, and red. The result is a mineral that seems to possess multiple identities at once, and that confusion is precisely what makes it so fascinating. Throughout history, people have relied heavily on visual shortcuts. The brain constantly searches for familiar patterns, making rapid judgments based on limited information. Most of the time, this ability is useful. But nature has a habit of exploiting those shortcuts. A mineral that looks like gold may not be gold. A rainbow-colored specimen may not be rare. And something that appears ordinary may ultimately prove far more extraordinary than expected. Chalcopyrite exists at the center of that contradiction. Its name may be unfamiliar to many people, yet its story reflects a universal human tendency. The desire to identify value instantly often leads to mistakes. In the mineral world, those mistakes can be costly. In life, they can be even more significant. What makes chalcopyrite particularly memorable is that its rainbow appearance often emerges through natural alteration over time. Colors develop, change, and shift, creating surfaces that can resemble entirely different materials depending on lighting conditions. This means that even when looking directly at the mineral, certainty remains surprisingly elusive. And perhaps that is the deeper lesson. Not everything needs to be understood immediately. Sometimes curiosity is more valuable than certainty. Sometimes looking closer reveals a completely different truth. That idea becomes even more powerful with the next mineral on this list. Because while Chalcopyrite challenges what the eye thinks it sees, the next specimen challenges something even more fundamental: memory, expectation, reality itself. Its colors do not simply reflect light. They can actually change after exposure to light, creating an effect so unusual that early observers struggled to believe it was natural at all. And once seen, it becomes difficult to forget. Number 6. Hackmanite. Most minerals follow a simple rule. Once discovered, they remain predictable. A sapphire looks like a sapphire. A quartz crystal looks like quartz. Their appearance may vary slightly, but their identity remains stable. Hackmanite challenges that expectation completely. At first glance, it may not seem particularly extraordinary. Some specimens appear pale violet, soft lavender, or even grayish-white. Compared to the dramatic rainbow minerals already explored on this list, Hackmanite can seem surprisingly understated. Then something unexpected happens. Expose the mineral to ultraviolet light, bright sunlight, or certain environmental conditions, and its color begins to change. Not gradually over thousands of years, not through weathering, not because of heat or pressure, but almost immediately. The transformation can be striking enough to make observers question whether they are looking at the same specimen. And that reaction reveals something important about human psychology. People naturally seek stability in the world around them. Objects are expected to remain consistent. A chair stays a chair. A stone stays a stone. Predictability creates comfort because it allows the brain to understand and categorize reality. Hackmanite disrupts that process. It behaves more like a living phenomenon than an inert mineral. This unusual property, known as tenebrescence, allows the stone to darken after exposure to certain forms of light and gradually return to its original color over time. The effect has fascinated mineralogists for decades because it blurs the line between what appears static and what appears dynamic. For collectors, the experience can feel almost magical, yet the explanation is entirely natural. No electronics, no hidden mechanisms, no artificial enhancement, just a remarkable interaction between light and the atomic structure of the mineral itself. And perhaps that is what makes Hackmanite so memorable. It serves as a reminder that nature often operates beyond the limits of expectation. The world is filled with phenomena that seem impossible until they are observed directly. Once seen, they force assumptions to change. But even Hackmanite is not the final word on unexpected beauty, because the next mineral overturns a different assumption altogether. Many people think they already know garnet. They picture a deep red gemstone that has been used in jewelry for centuries. What few realize is that under exceptionally rare conditions, garnet can display colors that seem completely incompatible with its reputation. And the result looks nothing like the stone most people think they know. Number 5. Rainbow garnet. There is a curious pattern that appears throughout science, history, and even everyday life. The moment people believe they fully understand something is often the moment they stop looking for surprises. Few gemstones illustrate this idea better than garnet. For centuries, garnet has been one of the most recognizable gemstones in the world. Mention the name, and most people immediately picture a deep red stone, rich, elegant, and familiar. That image has become so deeply rooted that many assume the story ends there. But nature rarely respects human assumptions. Hidden within a small number of remarkable deposits is a variety known as rainbow garnet, a material that seems determined to challenge everything people think they know about its family. Unlike traditional garnet, these extraordinary specimens display iridescent flashes of green, gold, blue, purple, and orange that shift across the surface as light moves. The effect can appear surprisingly similar to precious opal, despite being produced through an entirely different geological process. For many collectors, the first encounter with rainbow garnet is genuinely disorienting, not because the colors are unusual, but because the colors seem impossible for a garnet, and that reaction reveals something larger than mineralogy. Human beings naturally categorize the world. Doing so makes complex information easier to understand. Once a category is established, expectations quickly follow. Birds fly, iron is gray, garnets are red. Most of the time, those shortcuts are useful. Sometimes they become blind spots. Rainbow garnet serves as a reminder that reality is often more flexible than the labels attached to it. Nature constantly experiments with possibilities that human expectations fail to anticipate. What appears ordinary can possess hidden dimensions waiting to be discovered. That lesson extends far beyond gemstones. Many of the most significant discoveries in history emerged because someone looked beyond accepted assumptions and asked whether there might be more to the story. Rainbow garnet embodies that spirit perfectly. It is not simply a rare mineral. It is evidence that familiarity should never be confused with complete understanding. And surprisingly, the next mineral takes this idea in an entirely different direction. Because while rainbow garnet challenges assumptions about what a gemstone can become, the next specimen challenges assumptions about value itself. For generations, it has been associated with treasure, wealth, and the pursuit of fortune. Yet its most spectacular rainbow forms reveal a side of the mineral that few people ever expect to see. Number 4. Rainbow pyrite. Long before modern geology existed, people were already searching for shining objects hidden beneath the earth. Gold was sought across continents, silver fueled empires, gemstones crossed oceans through ancient trade routes. And throughout history, one powerful instinct remained remarkably consistent: the urge to discover treasure. That instinct helps explain the enduring fascination with pyrite. Often called fool's gold, pyrite has spent centuries occupying a strange place in human imagination. Its metallic brilliance can resemble gold closely enough to fool inexperienced prospectors, yet its true value lies somewhere else entirely. Because pyrite is not important merely for what it is. It is important for what it represents: the possibility of discovery. That idea becomes even more compelling when pyrite develops extraordinary rainbow coloration. Under certain conditions, microscopic surface alterations create flashes of blue, violet, green, red, and gold that transform an already striking mineral into something almost surreal. Light dances across the surface in constantly shifting patterns, creating an appearance that can rival many gemstones traditionally considered more valuable. Yet the most interesting aspect of rainbow pyrite is psychological rather than geological. The human brain is naturally drawn toward reflective objects. Evolutionary researchers have suggested that this attraction may be linked to ancient survival instincts associated with water, sunlight, and valuable resources. Whatever the reason, bright reflective surfaces continue to capture attention in ways few other materials can. Rainbow pyrite amplifies that response dramatically. It looks valuable. It feels rare. It appears as though it should belong inside a treasure chest recovered from a forgotten shipwreck. And that reaction reveals something important. People are not merely attracted to wealth. They are attracted to possibility. Treasure has always represented more than money. It symbolizes mystery, opportunity, and the belief that extraordinary discoveries still exist somewhere beyond the next horizon. Rainbow pyrite taps directly into that ancient impulse. Every flash of color feels like evidence that nature is still hiding secrets. And perhaps that is why specimens like this remain so captivating. They remind people that wonder has not disappeared from the world. It is simply waiting to be found. Yet the next mineral takes that idea in an even more emotional direction. Because while rainbow pyrite represents the search for hidden treasure, the next specimen represents something far rarer: the preservation of life itself. Its story begins not with crystals, metals, or volcanic forces, but with a living tree that stood on Earth millions of years ago and somehow survived in a form no one could have predicted. Number 3. Aurora opalized wood. Most things on Earth eventually vanish. Mountains erode, rivers change course, entire civilizations rise and fall, and living things, no matter how large or small, ultimately become part of the past. That reality makes Aurora opalized wood so extraordinary. Because unlike most remnants of ancient life, this material does not merely preserve evidence that something once existed. It preserves beauty. Millions of years ago, the story began with a living tree. It absorbed sunlight, drew water from the soil, and stood as part of a thriving ecosystem that no longer exists. Like every living organism, its life eventually ended. Under ordinary circumstances, that would have been the end of the story. The wood would decay. Its structure would disappear. Its existence would survive only through fragments and traces. Instead, an extraordinarily rare sequence of geological events intervened. Groundwater rich in dissolved silica slowly infiltrated the buried wood. Over immense spans of time, organic material was gradually replaced while preserving the original cellular structure. The process was so precise that the shape of the ancient tree survived, even as its substance transformed. Then something even more remarkable occurred. In certain rare specimens, precious opal formed within that preserved structure, filling ancient patterns with brilliant flashes of color: red, green, blue, gold, violet. The result is almost difficult to comprehend. What appears before the eye is simultaneously a fossil, a gemstone, and a record of life from a world long gone. This is where Aurora opalized wood becomes more than a geological curiosity. It becomes a message from deep time. Unlike most rainbow minerals, its beauty is inseparable from its history. Every color exists because something once lived. Every flash of light traces patterns that originated within a living tree millions of years ago. And perhaps that is why specimens like this often evoke a different emotional response than ordinary gemstones. They do not simply display beauty. They preserve memory. They remind observers that nature possesses an extraordinary ability to carry fragments of the past into the present. Yet even this remarkable fusion of life, time, and color is not the most artistic expression of nature's creativity. Because the next mineral looks less like a geological specimen and more like a masterpiece painted by an invisible hand. Its colors seem to flow through stone, as though nature itself decided to become an artist. Number 2. Andamooka Matrix Opal. When people stand before a great painting, they often ask the same question: who created it? A masterpiece usually carries the signature of an artist. A sculpture reflects the vision of its maker. A work of architecture reveals the imagination of its designer. Human beings naturally connect beauty to intention. The more impressive the creation, the more instinctively people search for a creator behind it. And that is precisely why Andamooka Matrix Opal feels so extraordinary. At first glance, many specimens appear less like minerals and more like abstract artwork. Brilliant flashes of red, green, blue, violet, and gold weave through dark host rock in intricate patterns that seem almost deliberate. The colors do not simply sit on the surface. They flow, they branch, they spread through the stone like brushstrokes across a canvas. For many observers, the immediate reaction is the same. It looks designed. Yet no artist ever touched it. The story begins in the harsh landscapes of Australia, where silica-rich solutions slowly moved through porous rock over immense spans of time. As opal formed within tiny cavities and pathways, color became embedded throughout the surrounding matrix. The result was not a single gemstone. It was a composition, a geological artwork assembled molecule by molecule over millions of years. What makes Andamooka Matrix Opal so fascinating is that it challenges a deeply rooted assumption. People often believe that beauty requires intention, that complexity requires planning, that artistry requires an artist. Nature repeatedly demonstrates otherwise. Snowflakes develop intricate symmetry without a designer. Canyons carve themselves without an architect. And within Andamooka Matrix Opal, color arranges itself into patterns that seem almost impossibly creative. Perhaps this is why specimens like these inspire such fascination. They blur the boundary between geology and art. They force observers to confront an intriguing possibility. Maybe beauty is not something humans invented. Maybe it is something humans discovered. And if that idea is true, then Andamooka matrix opal may be one of the finest examples ever found. Yet even this extraordinary mineral does not occupy the top position on this list, because the final specimen goes beyond beauty, beyond rarity, beyond artistic appearance. It is one of the few rainbow minerals that can genuinely make experienced collectors question what they are seeing. Its internal patterns appear so precise, so improbable, and so unlike anything else in the mineral world that many people struggle to believe they were created by natural geological processes at all. And that is exactly why it belongs at number 1. Number 1, Rainbow Lattice Sunstone. Throughout this journey, one idea has appeared again and again. Nature is far stranger than it first seems. A dull stone concealed a hidden rainbow. Ancient life transformed into color. Volcanoes created beauty through destruction. Ordinary minerals shattered expectations. And rocks that appeared simple revealed extraordinary secrets beneath the surface. Yet even after all of those discoveries, one specimen stands apart. Because Rainbow Lattice Sunstone does not merely surprise the observer, it challenges the observer's sense of what should be possible. At first glance, the mineral appears almost unreal. Inside the stone, thin bands and geometric patterns intersect in ways that resemble an intricate design carefully placed by a skilled artist. Bright flashes of color seem suspended within the crystal, creating a lattice-like structure that appears far too organized to be accidental. The effect is so unusual that many first-time viewers assume they are looking at a man-made object. Some compare it to stained glass. Others describe it as microscopic architecture trapped inside stone. A few simply refuse to believe it formed naturally. And that reaction is exactly what makes Rainbow Lattice Sunstone so important. Throughout history, human beings have repeatedly underestimated nature. Again and again, discoveries once considered impossible eventually proved real. Giant, crystal caves hidden beneath deserts. Fossils preserving details thought impossible to survive. Minerals displaying colors no one expected to find in stone. Rainbow Lattice Sunstone belongs to that tradition. Its extraordinary appearance is the result of a rare combination of mineral inclusions and geological conditions that occurred under circumstances so specific that only a handful of notable specimens have ever been found. What emerges is not merely a rainbow effect. It is a visual paradox. The patterns appear intentional, yet no one designed them. The structure appears engineered, yet no engineer was involved. The beauty appears planned, yet no artist ever touched it. This is where the story becomes larger than a single mineral. Every specimen featured in this video has revealed a different lesson about the natural world. Some showed that beauty can hide beneath ordinary surfaces. Others demonstrated that time, pressure, destruction, and even chance can create extraordinary results. Rainbow Lattice Sunstone brings all of those ideas together, because more than any other mineral on this list, it reminds us that the greatest limitation is often not nature itself. It is expectation. The natural world is not constrained by what seems reasonable, familiar, or likely. It operates according to its own rules, creating forms, colors, and structures that often exceed human imagination. And perhaps that is the most remarkable discovery of all. Not that these rainbow minerals resemble precious opal, but that nature never needed to copy opal in the first place. It was creating wonders just as extraordinary all along. From hidden rainbows inside ordinary stone to minerals that seem almost impossible, these remarkable discoveries prove that nature is far more creative than most people realize. And perhaps that's the biggest surprise of all. Not that these minerals look like precious opal, but that the Earth has been creating wonders just as extraordinary all along. Which mineral surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into the hidden world of gemstones, don't forget to subscribe for more rare discoveries, fascinating stories, and natural wonders. Until next time, keep exploring There is always something extraordinary waiting to be discovered.